Today I'm speaking to Mark. He's a third-year electrical engineering student based here in Auckland. He's got some really cool stuff around Christmas lighting, as well as ESP home, custom-built projects, and also some really cool stuff with camera AI detection. That's amazing.
Yeah, so this is where my joy comes from, building up on my Christmas light display.
Yeah.
So this Christmas tree here is 4 meters to the top of the lights, 2,400 pixel nodes, plus the star another half a meter, concrete base in the ground.
Yeah.
There was something different to have year-round permanently put in, as well as guide wires in place. Sure, that's my videos in the way. Let's sneak that over there.
That's better. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. And that's all integrated into Home Assistant as well, is it?
Not as much as I'd like it to be.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think, do I need to do too much into Home Assistant? The reason being is that, the show on its own, I like to leave as is. It's sort of the same philosophy I have a lot of my Home Assistant, where I don't like the internet connection and I don't like devices you rely on something else.
Yeah.
So the example being with security cameras. I've got a local network video recorder for it all, and Home Assistant can access it for the API for is the motion of a human or a vehicle, but it's not the sole responsibility to record it from Home Assistant.
Yeah, no, you're quite right there. And it's actually quite frustrating because if you have all your cameras coming through to Home Assistant, they start just building up all this, data inside of Home Assistant and backing it up. So I agree with you, way better to have a separate MVR too. So what MVR are you running behind your cameras?
So I use the Dahua brand of cameras because that way I've got I got beeps beside me. I'll get to that in a moment. Dahua brand of cameras. The recorder unit, I won't say how much storage you got for how many days, because obviously this right here for my account here kind of reveals whereabouts I live.
Yeah, you better be careful.
But we'll say it's a really good amount of storage for the cameras, be 24/7.
Yeah. Wow.
We're well over 10 terabytes worth of storage on it across the hard drives.
Mm.
And already, which I'm about to get to as one example, in the photos beside me, I just had a little alarm go off. There's a motion alerts button I have in Home Assistant I can trigger. And then whenever there's a personal vehicle in the driveway, Alexa will pipe up to say what it was on the driveway, as well as a buzzer beside me at my desk.
And I see you were saying that you've actually got AI recognition to read the plates and things like that of the cars.
There is the function of that. It's just I don't have a camera at the moment positioned that can accurately get it. Because number plate recognition, ANPR we call it in New Zealand, and America they call it LPR.
Yeah.
It's not so much necessarily you've got character recognition of video. It's a lot about the angle of the camera and your exposure speeds, enough focal length zoom on it that you can get a good plate image. And at night time it becomes an issue because you've got headlights for a car on.
Yeah.
So I've got ways I've got a new camera behind me actually now that can do LPR, license plate recognition. Just getting that set up, and it's a giant camera.
Oh, really?
It's quite big for when you have enough zoom on it.
Oh, my goodness. How many cameras have you got in all?
Oh, so running at the moment, the visible ones, I'll say, there's about 2 or 3 visible in the house, most people would see. At Christmas time, it's over 10.
Wow.
So there's extras that go up. There's a few out there right now that are hidden in the bushes and the fence post. They keep away. And then there's some that I keep obvious, so people know that's there. I'm recording them. And those cameras, I can probably better show onto here an example for a public-facing camera, because I have put it as a time lapse online. I do everything is, what do you need for your security benefits? Probably an overview, then other cameras zoomed in. So this is my overview camera here, and there's other cameras that zoom into the end of the driveway that can just about get number plates quite well from the street, as well as any car that count the driveway and faces. So this camera, for example, it's actually been changed now. It was changed in January. is the main overview that will give me alerts on things. And for any unlucky people that come up overnight, this is the camera that will speak to you in a very robotic voice of GLaDOS from the video game Portal 2 and say you're under surveillance.
Okay. Wow. So how many visitors do you get coming along to your Christmas show?
Quite a few each year.
Mm.
So I think last year, yeah, I'll talk to you in a moment. Interruption already. I'll probably let me sneak back over to this again as I open up Excel.
Mm.
I accidentally open up the wrong tab as well. Each year I get quite a number of visitors. And one of the cameras I have can automatically do people counting. It labels itself as video structurization, and it changed the video attributes.
Mm.
But I still do need to manually check it myself, because it does become quite inaccurate when you've got a lot of people standing in front. They sort of walk behind the vehicle and come back and shot again. It counts as 2 people. So this here is an example of last year's Christmas lights display visitors. Just over 350 people on 23rd December.
Wow, that's not bad, eh?
I don't know how well you remember, but Christmas Eve and Christmas Day was raining. It was.
And you've still got so many people turning up.
Yeah, still quite a few. Started to get more cars than people, which was a bit strange. I haven't had that before in the few years I've done lights.
Oh, wow. So your lights, do they have music associated with them as well?
Yes. So there's an example. Well, mind you, I won't play it on it, but if people want to and have a look at it for my display on YouTube, all synchronized to music. And I can open up to the software. Let's open up another window, start it opening. It's kind of like a video editor, how you drop effects in on a timeline.
Mm.
And then so you got lights and a list at the side, your effects drop in across time for music. And you can blend these effects into each other, fade them in and out, dissolve them, all sorts of things. And that's how you build it up. So it's not sound reactive like WLED would be.
Mm.
It is something that's manually has to be done.
Okay. So it's a fully programmed sequence. It's basically running without responding to the music.
Yes, exactly.
So do you do tutorials and things on this as well?
Not really. Just time management for me and studies is the biggest issue. See if I can find a good one. What we got? We got Bluey, the good Australian one that swept the world by storm.
Yeah.
And audio I'll put on silent, don't have to come through. So here's an example of the timeline I have. So if I were to show this, it's just going to dock somewhere else. Go up here. It's a full 3D preview I got for the lights.
Mm.
This is a 3D model I've built up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Into here. Got all my lights in place. Each of these have a name of sorts. So the arches here are in a group, the 4 arches. And an effect clicking on one of these will attribute to an effect put onto the lights. So X lights in a way looks at it like as if it's a camera, and wherever the effects land on the light is where it actually sends data to it. So X lights itself looks at the show front on like that. There's also times when I can tell it, look at it side on if things don't quite look right, such as there's depth to it beyond the camera. Yeah,
so you're thinking of doing one of those balls like what Dr. Z's done?
I don't know where I'd put it. I could think of doing smaller sort of spheres.
Yeah.
Actually, on the reference, there's one person who was on the news last year, retiring in the lighting hobby. I can't remember his name, Terry or something it might have been. He is in Nelson. He doesn't do as many smart pixels as me. He does a lot of analog things, Renard controllers, DIY with Arduino, all sorts of things. And there's big singing baubles. So he took a beach ball and not really paper mache, more fiberglass, that's what he made it out of. made the big sphere, cut it off, and the mouth is on a servo, so it opens and closes. And long still, and the eyes can move in its socket, eyebrows go up and down, all sorts of cool things for that.
Very cool. Did you see Dr. Z's new talking parrot come dinosaur that he's building?
Yes, I've seen a snippet of it. Been a bit busy the last week.
Pretty cool.
Things. Yeah, there's another case too I've seen for other. There's so many great YouTube channels out there.
Oh, I know.
I think it's an account called Mr. Vault, and he did one with GLaDOS from the video game Portal 2, and he's got that as a voice assistant.
Oh,
I think he recently did one on Wheatley as well.
Have you played with the local voice assistant on Home Assistant yet?
At this point, I haven't. The reason being is time is the first one, and also that my Home Assistant instance on the Raspberry Pi sits in another room compared to where our Alexa is in the house.
Yep.
So I'd have to move it over. Ideally, I want a hardwired connection to it for kind of the background things Home Assistant does. Yeah, so if I get a second instance, all the ESP voice thing is, I'm looking into that when I get the time, should I say. There's plenty of projects I don't have enough time for.
Yeah, I can well believe it. I know I've just ordered some components to build myself the ESP version, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I can. I might as well better show through that. We had. Let's sneak ahead a bit. As an example for. Did I not include the photos? Oh yeah, there we go. I'm sure the site's familiar. AliExpress.
Oh,
spent
yes.
far too much money.
Of course.
Order was last year, I think. This is just one AliExpress store. Every year there's 2 or 3 purchases at $100 each or so.
Oh, it can add up, hey?
Yeah.
It's just amazing what you can get nowadays for pretty inexpensive sort of money. You can build some amazing stuff if you're actually willing to get your hands dirty and get a bit of solder and out and play around. It's a lot of fun, eh?
Exactly. Which is where I got one of what I messaged there, Simon, of this weather station project I did, which I've just put on the Home Assistant forums last night, yesterday afternoon. I took a cheap weather station, in this case purchased off Trade Me. Here it is in its box. I didn't use the built-in LCD screen it came with, which it wirelessly transmitted to, because every 5 or 10 minutes it transmitted.
Yeah.
I've got
a very similar sort of one at the moment that I want to convert, so I'm interested to see how you've done this.
Okay. Yes, I think I remember that one. You got the Holman one?
Yep, the Holman Aspect, from Bunnings.
It's quite so. When I first looked into these weather stations, the more I searched around AliExpress, Bunnings, other overseas, JCar, electronics, they all start to look the same.
Yeah.
You notice a few models that's rebranded everywhere else. So that Holman one, I think you've got is rebranded as Davis System and some other brands out there. All sorts of things. What we got here, this is the rain gauge.
Yep, so the tipping bucket, yep.
So it's just a tipping bucket. I knew from the little LCD screen you tipped it once over 0.3 millimeters of rain, so calibrated for me. And it's just a magnetic reed switch. I left the circuit board in there and just soldered across the reed switch and the wires back down. As well as on the bottom of that, I have a DHT22 sensor I put in for temperature and humidity. This is one of the examples of little ESP32s I got here. So what we have here at the bottom, power input switch, a 12 volt, 5 volt step down buck converter module.
So you're running this permanently powered rather than a battery?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I try to for most things. I don't actually think I have anything in Home Assistant battery powered at this point in time.
Yeah, because the ESPs are pretty power hungry unless you can get the sleep working. Have you managed to figure out how to put them to sleep?
I'll get on to sleep. I've got a picture in a slideshow somewhere.
Yeah.
I've just had a very special little module come in the mail yesterday.
Oh, what's that one got special about it?
The two of them cost me $70 off AliExpress.
Oh my goodness, that's not cheap.
They're expensive.
They must be having some special properties.
Yeah. The little keys thing, it's just a 10K pull up or pull down resistor for LDR. I have a light sensor with it, but I don't actually use the light sensor much. Resistor actually put in across here because I was having some issues with the wind direction vane, I'll mention at the moment, and the screw terminals. I painted everything because they're made of cheap plastic, these things. Just try to preserve it somewhat.
And does that seem to be helping?
Hard to tell so far, given this was August or July last year I put it up. But from down the ground, it looks good.
That's good, yeah.
I think this will perhaps get more of a picture. So I modified off the original stand, and this is using aluminium, or aluminum as the Americans like to call it.
Yeah.
This is actually an old VHF antenna. So
Oh,
we don't
yeah?
have analog TV anymore.
No.
I used the aluminium from that to make a frame up. So back inside of here, I should have actually shown some other photos of what the stuff is. So the rain gauge, it's a reed switch. Every time it tips over, it briefly connects the wires together. And you can either pull up or pull down. It's just a counter in ESP home. How many times it tipped back and forth in 1 minute I do. The wind direction vane is a little bit different. A bit of theory with electronics and resistors in parallel you need. The wind vane has 4 magnetic reed switches for north, south, east, and west. And say it's pointing north, it's 10 kilo ohms across the sensor wires.
Yeah.
If it's pointing south, we'll say it's 50 kilo ohms. If it's in between, say, south and west, say it's 50 kilo ohms and west is 30 kilo ohms, it's whatever the calculation will come to for 30 kilo ohms and 50 kilo ohms in parallel. Off the top of my head what that would be. So you need to know resistances between that and measure with the ADC, the analog digital converter. So that's what I've got on the ESP here for ESP home. I have an ADC set up on that one. I think this might be easier if I just show through the code. So we had, oh jeepers, where do I have it? That's the anemometer, feels like rain gauge. Here we go. This is a tipping bucket. So we're just counting number of pulses. I know it's 0.3 millimeters. A debounce, probably been good if I just put a little ceramic capacitor.
Can you move your camera a little bit there, Mark? We can't see the...
Thank you for telling me. It's on a tiny little screen. OBS is at the bottom.
Ah, that's better. Yeah. Now I'm top of you, but that's all right.
Oh, okay. There you go. That way. Oh.
There we go.
Distance. Debounce. I would suggest a hardware debounce, sort of capacitor across in parallel to the button rather than software. For my case, software's fine. The wind direction ADC. So ADC, analog digital converter. Say you have ground 0 volts and 5 volts. In between that, if we say we are, so it's about 9 bits for 1024 divisions between it all. So 9-bit ADC, your 1024 values between 0 to 5 volts. So 2.5 volts be 512 the value.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge in mind, when we have the wind direction vane, the wind direction vane is going, what have I got there? I think for those values, I might have a pull up set up on it. So in electronics, you've got pull up and pull down. So what that means is, does it have an extra resistor to connect it to negative ground, 0 volts? And then the sensor itself connects between 5 volts to the pin, or 3.3 volts in the case of the ESPs. So anywhere in these values I've mapped out here is a different voltage that will come back from the direction of the vane, to which way it's pointing, and the ADC converts that into a value between 0 and 1023, so 1024 steps. There is, you can see here a bit of a range, and that's because temperature affects resistance on the resistors. So any cheap little SMD resistors in it.
Okay.
Even temperature on the wire, for example. A wire go 1 or 2 ohms and change. Not much that would affect it, but any little things like that can happen. So that's where's a range on it, and then we map it to a bearing value here, which makes it, I find it to be easier in Home Assistant than a text, like a north or northwest, because that way you can get the graph to show you over time as its actual number.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
So that's that one. The other gauge we have on it is temperature, humidity, which is literally just a DHT11. Go up top. Sorry, DHT22.
Yeah, they're pretty easy. Straightforward.
You just plug it in. I just filter out NAND values. It's never failed on me, but I don't know what it's come up as NAND.
Yeah,
okay if it doesn't bring back a result for 5 minutes.
And so they're surprisingly accurate, I must admit, for the cost of the sensor. They're pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I did also buy some AHT 113s or something, I think it is. They're what was the term for it again? But they connect on the serial line rather than a single signal, the SPI, like the DHT22. So you're connected to SCL and SCA and the ESP. But the good news about that, like I2C, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's the one.
I2C, you can have multiple devices and parallel on the same communication line. So I've got other photos again on a tangent. Another project beside me already. No, it's broken apart. Damn it. Breadboard's breaking apart on me.
That's not good.
This will be eventually for part of the cupboard for the little screen and knob.
Yeah.
One of the cool devices I'm playing around with, PCA 3899 or something it's called. It's an I/O expansion board. So you get the extra inputs and outputs with just the I2C line connection back.
Yeah.
I want to play around with that, which I've already got it going. Soldering everything together.
And what are you going to use that for?
That particular one is going to be replacing an ESP I already have in the cupboard with my cameras, recording units, and UPS and router. That will be for temperature sensor in there, temperature sensor in the roof, as well as I wanted the hardware status of the input and output connections on my camera's recording unit, because I can get values through the API, but also want to check, physically, is it right?
Yeah.
On it. And there's some things with the API that way above my head I can't work out how to integrate, particularly things with the facial recognition of vehicle attributes.
So what are those other ESPs, those other ones you were showing me just now that you just got in?
Most of them are actually still sitting in the parts bin just behind me.
Okay.
Yet to go into projects. On the weather station, the anemometer is just a pulse counter. Again, it's a read switch every time it turns around. And we turn into knots as well. Light sensors and ADC, I don't use it very often for automations, but it's there. It feels like the temperature. Don't we love artificial intelligence and ChatGPT?
Oh, so this is taking advantage of what wind speed and things like that, is it?
Yes. So I asked ChatGPT, how would you do this? Came back with this. I still don't know where I got the result from, but
yeah,
it seems about right.
Seems to work. Oh, fantastic.
Good enough. Already on one direction and rain gauge. Yeah, that's all that there on the and I did have options there for a light and motion sensor because it is positioned near my garden shed.
It's a really nice, neat job you've done there with the boxing and everything.
Yeah, so that's a box from Bunnings.
Yeah.
And some PG7 waterproof glands. And the cable itself's alarm cable. It's not a UV rated cable, but works good enough.
Yeah. Oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah,
really
so I installed it. This is the VHS, what's gone. UHF antenna TV on the back of my house. So I attached it to that with some clamps.
Yeah.
And same as the antenna, the cable just goes underneath the roof tile. And then that goes into the cupboard. It's my camera's recording units in full power.
Very neat. Have you tried sniffing using 433 megahertz for any other people's weather stations in the area?
I haven't even tried, to be honest. I knew immediately I just want to get rid of it. I think I've only got a 433 megahertz transmitter. So I bought a little receiver. I could try it.
Yeah, I bought a receiver the other day, but I couldn't really. I was picking up a few sensors and things, but I realized that I'd ordered the wrong one for mine because the problem I have is that mine's running through Weather Underground, which is obviously all cloud-based, and whenever they upgrade Home Assistant, suddenly falls over and things. So my first plan was just to try and sniff the signal coming out of it. But then when I realized it wasn't actually 433, it was like 750 or something. So that didn't work. But I had a couple of sniffs around to see what else was in the area. The few people's alarm systems and things were coming up, but nothing that I could actually use much of.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about when it comes to wireless security and that. I mean, I don't like buying things off the shelf, as you can probably tell. Everything's a Home Assistant CSP Home or API of advice. I don't have any Zigbee or Z-Wave so far. I mean, Wi-Fi's got encryption on it, and I suppose it also means someone can't go past, oh, they've got a Zigbee detector. Even if I can't decrypt what the message is that attached to their garage door or their front door. Just any message over Zigbee could be referencing to a door opening.
Yes.
As much as that's probably a tinfoil hat moment thinking of that, you never know what someone might do nowadays.
Exactly. Well, in my experience, Zigbee seems to be pretty popular. I've got probably a good couple, 20 or so Zigbee sensors and things running at the moment in my network. But I use a bit of Bluetooth, a bit of Zigbee, a bit of Wi-Fi. Yeah, whatever's going for the latest device that I'm playing around with. So no, that's a fantastic project, Mark. Well done. I'm really impressed with how you've converted that.
Yeah.
So what sort of other cool things have you done around your house with Home Assistant?
Well, I got this. We'll show as part of it. You'll like this one.
Yeah.
The weather station, I have device helpers or entity helpers. And Home Assistant for the minimum, maximum, median for different sensors. And at midnight, or close enough to midnight, this does the Google Spreadsheets integration of my weather station.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it pushes it all out to Google Spreadsheets, does it?
Yes, automatically just creates a new line on there. So I can go back then, I think it's about the 3rd of October when I first started it here. So that's on my weather station's data.
Oh, wow, and that's literally just pushing it out to a Google Spreadsheet, is it?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, very cool.
I do that for the weather station, temperature and humidity sensors in my roof space, cameras, motion events per day. I was curious over Christmas time if I didn't silence notifications on my phone as I was walking back outside setting up the lights, how many times would I trigger my phone to go off?
Yeah.
So I set up an analytics count per day. Christmas time was so many people, were over 3,000 alerts that would have been per day if I didn't silence them.
Oh my
Person
goodness.
detected on the driveway.
I really like that idea. I must play with that because it's just a pain. You either building up your database on Home Assistant or you're limiting yourself by when Home Assistant obviously cleans itself out after a while. So I really like that idea. Is that just a standard integration, is it?
Yeah.
Google.
Zoom back out on that. Oh, I'm on the way again, aren't I? I can sneak myself down there.
Now I'm on top of you again. Do you want to go to the other corner?
Oh, the other corner. I'll go to the middle slightly.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. The integrations. What's this going to show? Was it? It's probably a good thing. All the email addresses are hidden now in the updates. Originally, Alexa Media Player would have showed email address attached to it. I was wanting the Google Spreadsheets. If you could spot it before I do, there it is.
Yeah.
The Google Spreadsheets, a cloud service, and in automations. So I would go to weather station, spreadsheet logging. Oh, that's temperature for my cupboard. So it's going to look for, if it's not there, it's going to make one, say temperature, and that will then equal to one of these tags at the top.
Yep.
And it looks for the sheet at the bottom as well. The creator tag happens automatically. I wish you could change the name of that from created to
Mm,
date in uppercase or something. That's what it is. And then you give it a value. So in this
wow.
case, I take the helper for the maximum minimum values.
Yeah.
I do it to a float of 0, don't need too much detail, and append it to the sheet.
That is really cool. I'm definitely gonna play with that.
Yeah, so it's, I'd say the biggest hassle of it is setting up. Yeah, you got to do as a developer account or something with your Google account.
It's one of those, yeah.
Yeah. Who was the guy I saw it? Another YouTube Home Assistant person I saw it off
Yeah.
for how to do it. I can't remember the name of his account, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No, there's so many out there now. There's always a new one. Every week I look, there's someone else talking about Home Assistant, which is really awesome. I think it's great.
The same
As
too
far
with
as,
the Christmas lighting hobby. There's so many people getting
oh,
involved in it.
oh, really? I can imagine. It's just crazy, but it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun meeting all the people around the world. It's just really, really cool. I interviewed a guy from Germany last week. It was pretty interesting. He's busy building a local control voice assistant board at the moment. So he's had the whole board all printed up, and so that should be pretty interesting to see. But no, there's some really cool, interesting guys out there. So I think just as Home Assistant grows and as they start integrating Chat GPT and all of these other systems into it, I'm really excited about where it's all going to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, AI has got quite a bit of fun when it comes to all this, and
Oh
the
yeah,
same security aspects when it comes to camera structure. I
yeah,
think what my camera's been able to do locally, its own AI for the past 5 years or so on its box, for the
yeah.
facial recognition and vehicle recognition, everything else. Although I have
What
to
do
admit,
you?
it is quite scary when I look at the commercial sense.
Yeah. What are you
Um,
running that on?
the AI is built into my cameras.
Oh,
My
okay. Hardware
recorder
knowledge.
unit, it's amazing what it can do for 15 watts of power.
Mm,
Um, it can do the AI for the cameras if the cameras are generic cameras,
mm,
which is pretty damn impressive. So I've got things like facial recognition on it,
mm.
vehicle car counting, and you can say to it, tell me every vehicle that's red that you've seen go past in the last 7 days.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then when you're in playback, a person will highlight a little blue box around, they get this little search icon, click on that,
Yeah,
and you'll try to search the attributes of that person.
yeah.
Next thing you know, you come across a face, search by that face in the last 7 days, and you'll come across everything.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. What was the name of those again?
These are Chinese brands. I know a lot of people have a lot of people are against Chinese brands, but anyway.
Yeah.
Dahua cameras.
Ahua.
So I am going to hang on. Right, that's a slideshow, not the actual button. So that's the brand.
That one. Yeah, I've seen that brand.
That
Yeah.
one. Yeah, so I can get it at a fairly cheap price as I can myself.
Mm,
There's also some places. A really good one is Empire Tech Andy, who's on
mm,
IP Cam Talk and Empire Tech.
mm.
He's a store online. He used to have an AliExpress store, but I think he's started to do just his own website now.
Yeah.
So I bought a few cameras from him. He's good. He
Mm.
honors warranties and all the rest with them, which is good for international.
Oh, nice.
You can get
And
them a
what sort
lot.
of money are you looking at for that DVR?
Ah, I paid nowhere near this. I
Yeah.
paid about 600 for my NVR.
Oh, NVR. Sorry.
The
Yeah.
retail price from IoT wholesale in New Zealand is about $2,000 for this particular
Oh
one.
my goodness, that's not cheap.
No, I'd seriously suggest if
Yeah.
you want all these AI features,
Mm.
you're probably best to be going either to Google Coral Accelerated API and putting out Frigate for a few cameras, or if you've got a lot of cameras, you could look into Blue Iris.
Yep. I've actually got a Coral accelerator, but I haven't managed to work it out yet.
Okay,
A
I
little
have an
USB
inflatable one.
version.
You're doing better than me.
I picked it up, but I honestly haven't managed to get it to work yet. So
Yeah. Oh, that might be to play around with it. I've
yeah,
got a few things here behind me that, to be honest,
yeah.
if you want to play around with them before I put them up
Oh,
somewhere.
cool. I'm sure we can do some trading. That sounds good.
I guess, plenty of extra Christmas lights.
Cool. No, that sounds really awesome. Have you got anything else you wanted to talk about today, Mike?
We got that's another one. This is the API for the cameras. I got the weather station every on the hour it changes.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a very pixelated screenshot, so I zoomed in on it.
Oh no, it's all right.
The water tank I have opens and closes based on the rain gauge, so that way you don't have debris like leaves or it's going down the gutters and in the tank. You close off the inlet to the tank first, let it all flush through,
Yes.
and then it opens up.
Oh, so what does it detect when there's obviously rainfall, and then it gets rid of the first sort of part of the rain with all the leaves and things?
So I just do it at my weather station. If there's any more than 0.3 millimeters of rain, it's rained a fair bit, and then it'll open.
That's a great idea.
So that's another ESP project for my water tank.
Yeah.
It was actually 2021. It's the first project I had in the Home Assistant. It's the whole thing I started with it.
That's what I started with pretty much as well. Are you using one of those sort of stainless steel diaphragm sensors for your pressure in your water tank?
We were thinking for a pressure valve or the ultrasonic. The ultrasonic, I didn't know this at the time. You can get ones that can focus. So if you've got a narrow tank like our one is here, 1,000 liters. And the pressure ones didn't want to have any China quality stainless steel that would rust.
Oh, I ran mine for 2 years. I was living in Beachlands, and I've pulled it out. It's absolutely perfect.
Okay, you're doing good then.
And that was
I wasn't wanting to lift that.
sort of $60 or $70 sensor. I was pretty impressed. Oh, yeah, it's good stainless.
That is pretty good, yeah.
And it was pretty accurate too.
So I use these little white ones. You might.
Okay, so you're just getting different levels instead of a continuous change. You've just got sort of 6 or 8 levels or whatever. Oh, that does the trick.
So it's these little non-contact liquid sensors, they call themselves on Express.
Yes.
About $4 US each. They can only work on plastic containers, not metal.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're a capacitance sensor. So the capacitance, your hand even getting near it can sometimes trigger it if you don't set the threshold right. That's that one. This is the one I was wanting to show you.
What is that now?
This was that little board.
Yes.
I had it before that was very expensive. This is a ESP32. I can't remember the exact model of this Lily Go Lora module. So Lora.
Lora WAN, yes.
Yes, you don't know about it. It's a long-range communication standard.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get 15 kilometers on some of these sensors when you get them right for big antenna on them, battery powered. It's amazing. So I started playing around with it, which is why I got these development boards.
Those are very cool. Yeah. So have you got a sender and a receiver, have you?
Yeah. So I bought 2 of the same boards. I mean, they can be senders, transceivers, senders and receivers.
Yep.
So I'll play around with that. And then once I got my project sorted with these, I'll buy just the receivers and transmitters free from Mauser Electronics.
Yep.
They're about $10 just for the receiver and transmitter.
Okay. Oh, not the whole board, just the transmitter itself. Yeah.
So we're doing a embedded project with these. That's a project commercially actually for it all. Can't mention too much about that one. But it'll be a commercial project for some sensors around building the complex.
Oh. Yeah, Lora WAN to me is pretty cool. I mean, it's just such a great idea of having just a really low data transfer system that can transmit data over such a long distance, isn't it?
Yeah, many people I don't think realize actually how much LoRa is used already. So in New Zealand, Spark, formerly known as Telecom, they have the IoT network which uses LoRa, 915 megahertz or so band.
Yeah.
And little did I know till I started researching more into this, Vector, which is the power company distribution up in Auckland, apparently their new meters are going off the 2G network and using LoRa instead.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Makes me wonder if, if I place this close enough to my power meter, can I get that high bursted energy for the signal being transmitted and try and decode it?
That will be the trick. You'll be able to receive it, but the
Yeah,
decoding will be the tricky bit. Eh?
the encryption on these things is quite fun.
Yeah. I did the project of just measuring the flashes from my meter, basically by just using an optical sensor and then converting that into power to come into my home assistant. That was very, very effective, I must admit. That was my second project. The first one was my water tank, and that was my second one. It was a fantastic little project.
Yeah, project I want to do as well. See how much power bill goes up my Christmas lights over the night.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. So I've been playing around with a few power clamps and that since then as well. They work pretty well.
Yeah, oh yeah, I really do want to do that. Yeah, if I have the money to get all my switchboard changed out. I can't remember the model of it, but Schneider Electric, which does PDL and other brands, they have these Modbus power meters, which you can put in different circuits. And Modbus, I have played around with ESP Home. It's just RS-45 transmission, decode it, bring it into whatever you want. So the Modbus, it's like I2C when you have devices in parallel. On the same communication line.
Okay, yeah.
No address between them all. So that's an example of a Modbus voltage and current meter. I still haven't used it yet since I bought it on 22.
Yeah.
This particular voltage meter is DC up to 300 volts, which is amazing for its size.
Wow, 300 volts DC.
Yes, this is the P-Sphere ones, which is some other videos online for Home Assistant and ESP Home.
Yeah.
This one I want to do for an electronic scooter I have to monitor charging. Yeah, anyway, power meter is what I'd like to do for electricity. The other one I had for you, as I mentioned, back to your projects, and this is where I first found out about your channel.
Yeah.
You have a video with Node-RED and a Rotary Encoder.
Yes.
Trying to do a light. So beside me right now, I have this black box on the left of the screen here. There's the black Rotary Encoder, and that does the curtain lights as seen at the top right.
Top right, yeah, I'm watching them.
I've got my camera feet in the way, don't I?
No, it's all right. I can see them, yeah. Let's have a look.
Good news, though, is that outside of Node-RED, I have managed to figure out better in ESP Home how to do it, where I think it was your code as example or other people's code. You set a variable for the knob, the Rotary Encoder, and that variable is supposed to equal to the brightness of the lights.
Yes.
What happened was if you adjust the lights brightness in Home Assistant, the knobs, the Rotary Encoder's value wouldn't change, and then you turn the knob and it suddenly jumps. Yes,
that's what one of the problems I was getting. Yep.
Yes, so this is where I like this one. Took me a little while to find it. I have to say a good thank you to the help on Discord from.
Oh, there's some amazing guys out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. So curtain strip's name.
Yeah.
It is lights.dim relative. Set an ID, and then the brightness change you want to do, plus or minus, and then transition length. So now, as soon as I change the knob here, tab. As soon as I change the knob here, you see the curtain strip.
Yeah. Oh wow! Look at that, and it's really smooth.
And if I change that up and go down, and change again.
That's really cool.
And then also another cool thing, remote get or remote values and then get a value. That's how you in ESP Home get the value of what an output or something is.
Yeah.
In this case, if it's above 30%, so 0.3, what will happen is when I'm going up, it's going to go 1% increments. As soon as I get bright enough to 30%, it's going to jump at 5% increments.
Ah, okay.
That's examples of little things there.
Very clever.
So that one, I have to say thank you for your video on that, for seeing that.
I just had the idea. I couldn't really work it out properly, but I managed to get it started, and I'm glad I was able to help you. That was quite fun. Once you get into heavy coding, that's sort of a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So.
Yeah, I'll grant that ChatGPT and all this does an amazing job nowadays.
Does, eh? Yeah. It's really impressive how it's getting better and better by the day.
Yeah, and
I'm
even when you
covering your camera again, by the way.
don't worry.
Go to the other corner.
That's the same to Microsoft Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio, the AI integration in that. It can realize you've made a mistake and try to realize what you're trying to correct it, and then it just automatically completes itself.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a game changer for your programming too.
Just unbelievable, eh?
I know I'm jumping everywhere over the show.
That's all right. No, it's all good.
That's what this thing was I mentioned before with
Yeah.
the expansion module.
Mm.
So that's an example of the LCD menus in ESP
Yeah.
Home.
Mm.
So I push
Oh,
the
okay.
encoder knob in, changes menu, turn the knob, it changes something.
Oh, wow.
The same too. System normal is actually text sensor in a Home Assistant, or sorry, a text helper in Home Assistant.
Okay.
So Home Assistant can send text to this.
Oh, really?
It's actually a lot easier to integrate than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
You literally, if you make the text entity in Home Assistant as a helper,
Mm.
and then you tell ESP Home, go to Home Assistant instance and get this text sensor. It just does automatically.
Oh,
And
my
you change
goodness.
Home Assistant, and in a fraction of a second, updates.
Wow. It's a lot easier than trying to get it to do graphics. That's where it gets quite difficult.
Yes, I would like to do a nice little OLED display or something and that, but it's a bit above my head right now while I'm trying to get other things done.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, for example, I don't know if you've seen these little ones, the sewn
NS
off
panels.
NS panels. Yep. So a lot of guys did stories about NS panel and it was so complex and everything. But all I did was I just basically pulled up the Home Assistant dashboard on the screen and just within 5 minutes was up and running. So that made it a lot easier than all the local stuff the other guys were trying to do.
Yeah, I would really like to get one of those panels, and I can imagine the fun and headache.
They are seriously cool. I had the actual NS panel first, the standard one, which I managed to blow up when I was busy trying to flash it with ESP Home, unfortunately. And then I got the Pro, and that's why I was wary of doing any flashing, although you can update the Pro because it's got Android software in it. So, but yeah, no, that's a very, very cool little device. I'm overly impressed with that, I must say.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'd love to have. Probably in the kitchen area by my Alexa, it would be good.
Yeah.
Get status of, say, the water tank and all the rest.
That's where I had it for a while until I installed my ventilation system controller over there. So that was it got bumped, so it needs to move somewhere else now.
Yeah, I was thinking, I saw your video, HRV system you had for it, and you did the Shellys or something.
Yeah, so it's not HRV as in the company in New Zealand. It's what's called heat recovery. Okay. It basically sucks air out of your bathroom and your kitchen continuously at a slow speed. And it sucks air in from outside, and it's got a heat exchange system. So effectively, I can be pulling 10-degree air in from outside. I can be pulling 19-degree air in from my bathroom and kitchen, pulling it out. And where the two streams cross each other, they exchange the energy. So I can effectively be pulling 10-degree air in, it'll heat it up till about 16 degrees or 15 degrees, sometimes. Quite amazing, just using that outgoing air.
I'm amazed by how efficient it sounds. That level of temperature, and they're fairly. I know they're fairly big, the heat exchange units, but
this is a big box. Yeah,
an airspace relation. It's actually quite small when you think of air traveling through at the speed.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's often the efficiency is fantastic. I actually thought something was going wrong because it was effectively showing the same temperature of the air coming out as what was coming in. And then I spoke to the guy that supplied me the unit, and apparently, even though the fan is running at low speed on about 26 watts of electricity, there's this tiny amount of heat that's radiated by the coils in the fan, and that's actually giving you an extra degree, and that's why it looks like it's 100% efficiency, but it's not. It's sort of 80 or 90%. So that's really cool. And then all I've done there is I've got a humidity sensor in my bathroom. So the moment it goes over a certain percentage humidity-wise, it goes into boost mode, and then it just evacuates all the steam out of the bathroom automatically.
Yeah, well, it's good that the just the extra tiny little bit of heat waste from the fan doesn't literally go to waste.
I know. I mean,
Back in the house.
I literally could not work out why it would be the same temperature going out as what was coming in. And apparently that's what the story is. So that was pretty amazing. But it's a German system. It's not a cheap one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good that you didn't go for a cheap one. I was
No,
thinking
no.
on it. My house doesn't have it yet, but if we do ever have it, I'd really like to know if I were to tap in between the communication of the little control panel, the main controller board of the thing, what signals can get out of it. My guess is it probably would be using like a Modbus RS485 again. Probably just better bring it straight into an ESP32.
Yeah, well,
That's
this one
better
is running
control
on an I2C, I think. IT squared.
I2C?
Yeah, that's the one. That's what it's running on.
If it's not encrypted, it'll be easy enough to decode.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's above my skill level, so I decided not to fiddle around with it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So have you got anything you want to show us today, Mike?
This is the extra things I found in photos.
Yeah.
That's my indoor Christmas tree at
Your Christmas
WLED.
lights, yeah.
When I first did it, this is the first generation of the seed pixel lights, which are amazingly tiny for how bright they are.
All right.
I had the first ESP dangling at the bottom. Then I went to this box, which was a bit of a mess, sadly. I would like to have everything on
yeah, your other one was way neater.
Yeah. Anyway, good enough.
Yeah. As long as it works.
Yes, this one's ESP8266 WLED, and I just have it on preset patterns in WLED.
Very nice. WLED is amazing. I'm really impressed with WLED, and I haven't even scratched the surface, but just hooking it up and using it just to control LEDs, just incredible.
Yeah, I found the cool use last year for indoor Christmas tree when motion was detected in the driveway. Just play a set little animation and read for a moment on the tree.
Yep.
So while you're in the lounge, instead of hearing Alexa go off, you just have the tree change for a moment.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's just so much you can do. It's literally limitless. That's what I find with Home Assistant. You literally never can run out of things that you can be doing.
Yeah. I'm watching parcels from neighbours' place on the cameras.
Okay.
This is another case of, this is actually the ESP32 camera module, but it's not even a camera in it. But the reason I have it's got a built-in SD card slot.
Yes.
Not so common in the Home Assistant groups. There's another software called ES Pixel Stick.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
ES Pixel Stick, the actual hardware, which I think Falk and I makes. I'm curious, came my driveway. And I run ES Pixel Stick firmware, and the reason I do that is in the Christmas lighting hobby with FPP Falcon Pi Player running. Instead of sending all the data off to the Santa hat in real time at Wi-Fi, the sequence can be loaded on the SD card and it says you should be up to 5 seconds in the song. You should be up to 10 seconds in the song. So I can go out of range of Wi-Fi and come back. As long as it's within the same song, it looks like nothing ever happened.
Wow. Just fantastic, eh? I mean, I actually started electronics when I was your sort of age. I started studying electronics, and I actually didn't finish it off because back in the day, things were pretty boring. You sort of had 555 timers and op amps and, your basic sort of NAND gates and stuff, and none of this cool stuff like there is now.
Yeah, now they're in the age of microcontrollers are literally simple to make, and it's in every device possible.
Oh, it's just incredible, eh?
Same time when you think of the price of, ESP8266 or ESP32s, they're so cheap to embed in the product nowadays. Just about every manufacturer is going to make their washing machine Wi-Fi or their dryer Wi-Fi. All sorts of devices you don't need to be Wi-Fi.
No, exactly. Have you ever tried hacking into a device and actually, because I just bought a new dishwasher and it's a Haier. And of course, I don't know if you've seen all the dramas with the Haier, but yeah, have you ever tried hacking a washing machine or anything to put an ESP in?
I haven't, because I don't really have the need.
No.
I know our dishwasher in the house has Wi-Fi on a new one.
Yeah.
But truly, why do I need a dishwasher which requires cloud service when I could turn on and off with the buttons at the front of it?
Yeah, there's not a huge sort of need for it, is there?
Unless the dishwasher can load itself up automatically and empty itself automatically, no.
Yeah, when Elon provides us with one of his robots, we'll be doing that, eh?
Yeah.
That should be an interesting one.
Although you mentioned the hacking, you actually do have one.
Yeah.
This is
Good
so
old Dalek.
really they're junk quality, to be honest.
Yeah.
I flashed this with Tasmotor.
Tasmotor's really underrated, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, Tasmotor and ESP Home, for the most part, they're fairly similar. ESP
Yeah.
Home's a lot more, I think, easier to program.
Yeah.
But Tasmotor's more the thing of someone's already made code out there, put in the JSON or so I think it uses, and flash it to ice.
Yeah.
The biggest issue I had with this device is that it was a Tuya-based smart plug. And I don't know if you remember it going back 2021 or 2022. Tuya started locking it down for the Tuya local conversion or something.
You had to actually pull it out, open it up, and flash it physically.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it over there. Yeah.
There was a man in the middle attack where you could pretend to be the update server or try to update from it, put your own code on it. That got blocked on this thing, sadly. So I had to open it up, which took a lot of effort for the security screws.
Yeah. But you managed to flash it in then, did you?
Yeah, so I flashed it, and just over a year later or so, the voltage measurement in it is going bad.
Oh, goodness. Well, I can honestly tell you that the new Tuya integration works really well. I'm blown away with the Home Assistant Tuya integration.
Are you using local or the cloud-based?
Well, I am assuming, I don't actually know whether it's local or not. That's actually a really good question. All I know is you just go and you type in Tuya, you connect to the device. So I'm not actually sure. I know it does limit you on the amount of information you get out of the device. Like I'm not getting my current readings and things anymore, but at least I can turn it on and off. But no, I couldn't actually tell you whether it's local or cloud. But it works way, way better. I mean, I've just had no issues with it at all.
Okay, at least it's working.
At least it's working, exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking.
So I'm also playing with a couple of these. This is a Matter-based light switch, so that's quite cool. Something different.
Yeah. Do you have any problems with the family in your household turning off the actual light switch, turning power off the Wi-Fi bulb or something?
No, but I came across a very good solution to that the other day, which is basically putting. So I've got Shelleys in most of my light switches because they New Zealand approved.
Yep. So
that's my concern about putting something like that into my wall, is that effectively you're playing with fire. So apparently what you can do with the Shelleys is you can create unlatched switches. So effectively what you do, you have it sitting in there, but you delatch it from the relay. So I've still got to play around with this. And then you have your smart bulb in there. So your smart bulb has effectively got power going to it the whole time, but you can still use the switch, which will communicate to the Shelley, which will communicate back to Home Assistant, which will then turn on and off the smart bulb without disconnecting from the power.
Yes, I think I know similar. I've got the RGBW, which is running at 12 volts, and there is the option on it for the button built in. I don't know. I think it might be the one called Garden Lights. Here's the button. And yeah, you can set up a toggle switch on the things. That can also activate the relay.
Yeah.
Haven't found a use for it myself yet. I was thinking, given its close proximity to the garden lights outside, I could have it connected to a sensor in the letterbox, so when someone puts a bit of mail in, whether that will be like a magnet switch as it opens, or a vibration sensor or something in there.
I played with the vibration sensor. That didn't seem to work too well in my mailbox, I must admit. I first of all need to get a new mailbox, but I definitely want some sort of a sensor telling me when I've got mail. That's definitely one of my next upcoming integrations pretty soon.
Yeah, I think for your case, you have a metal or a brick mailbox?
Well, at the moment I've got a timber mailbox, but
okay.
Yeah, it's a very old one and I want to replace it anyway. So I'm going to look for something that'll be easily interfaceable with some sort of a sensor, either a reed switch or something Someone used a PIR sensor, but I tried that. That didn't work well at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could use one of the microwave radar sensors.
Oh, well, I've got heaps of those. I've got one of these, that little guy at the moment. That's
Yep, that'd be a cool one to test with.
That's the Apollo one.
The issue that comes to mind, though, is that obviously it's emitting something that needs power constantly, most of these.
Yeah, exactly. These are
And you've got letterbox.
Yep, that's the problem with that. And although I probably will at some stage be getting power out to my mailbox because I want to have some nice big illuminated numbers on when I put up my new fence and that anyway. So I don't mind. But you think that might work for sensing if some mail's been put in?
Yeah, I reckon they work fairly well.
Mm.
It's just, I suppose, mainly though, the distance so that someone just knocking it with their hand on top of it. You know, if you had a wooden mailbox, will detect through the wood.
Yeah, they go straight through wood. Yeah, exactly. Although you can adjust with this one, you can adjust the zones and the gates quite accurately. So you could have a really short gate, like 300 millimeters or something, which might work quite well.
Yeah, I think I might find it. There's a good post on the Home Assistant group a few days ago. Someone showed one of the cheap AliExpress radars, but they managed to use the Plotly graph.
Yeah, I like Plotly. That's really cool.
Here we go.
Was it you that told me about Plotly?
No, I think I downloaded it courtesy of me seeing on a live stream of yours.
Oh, okay. One of my people in the live stream told me about Plotly, and it was an awesome thing that I never knew about.
Yeah, I'll show it like that so I don't show off my Facebook account.
Look at that.
They here with the Plotly graph, and they managed to get the target angle and direction into it, showing 3 targets in all zones.
Oh,
pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome, eh? Wow.
So
that's
theoretically, if your radar detector supports the distance and an angle from the sensor, you could better.
Mine doesn't do an angle from the sensor, not this one. This one just does a distance. Yeah, so you can set up zones and gates on this one, but not angle. But I've got a number of millimeter wave sensors. It's something I've made a lot of videos on, so I've had a lot of different ones being sent to me.
Yeah, motion detectors is quite an interesting one in home automation.
It certainly is.
Yeah, so it was like I go my Christmas lights. When it comes to security after hours and overnight and during the day when no one should be in the display, cameras, human vehicle detection is really well, but you do want to have some slight redundancies that if it fails, what else is there for another detector. You got the beam detectors infrared between the two, firing up to 100 meters or so. Radar detectors, depending on how good you get a radar detectors, they're going to pick up every leaf blowing in the wind or not. PIR detectors do get triggered by hot items a bit, such as plants that are quite warm in the background moving around. So it's quite interesting trying to put all these technologies together. And for my Christmas lights, I got a threshold and a counter. So if within a certain amount of time, if each of these detectors with a different value to the counter, it ends up to above 5, that triggers an alarm.
Have you used the Bayesian sensor at all?
Bayesian, I haven't even heard of it.
So apparently the Bayesian sensor is something in Home Assistant that you can use where it'll take a whole lot of different variables from different sensors and sort of connect them in a clever way and work out whether it needs to do something or not.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Look it up, Bayesian sensor. It looks really cool.
Okay, have to remind me that at the end of this.
Yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet, but I've heard people talking about it. Sounds like a great idea.
Let's try that one.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool one, eh? Oh, you got your weather sensor there. Yep, that's pretty cool. What are those graphs that you're using there? What did you make them with?
So this bearing one, what was it called?
Grafana or
the bottom one here for the wind in a direction. It usually goes in Beaufort first, but I've changed kilometers now. It's measuring a percentage of time for my cast last 6 hours.
That's so really cool.
here that between there's 5% of the time in the last 6 hours between 6 and 8 km/h wind
Yeah.
in this light blue.
Mm.
And the percentage here, you can see that, what's that, probably 20% to 38% of the time, whatever that equates to, percent of the time it was in the west direction of that wind speed.
That is one of the nicest depictions of a weather vane that I've ever seen. That is really cool.
Yeah, so that
And-
one is Windrose card, and I thought
Oh.
I'd keep a option up here because I noticed that
Oh.
someone's had some changes where it's got one of last wind direction, which to me would be quite cool.
Mm.
There's plenty of options. You can put a picture in the middle of it. You can make it rotate.
Oh, wow.
North,
That's
east,
great.
west.
And those other graphs that you've got, what are they made with?
I'm trying to think of by heart what this compass card, I think it might be called.
And the two, the other three graphs, what are they?
Yes, compass cards, what it was. The other ones we have here is mushroom. No, not
Is it
mushroom.
mushroom cards? Okay, yeah,
Can't
mushroom
remember
are
if
good.
mushroom or not. No, mini graph card. That's better.
Mini graph. Okay.
Mini graphs. I've got things like color threshold selected, multiple sensors, so the measure the feels like there. You can't quite see in that one. Whoopsies. Couldn't quite see in that one, but they've overlapped two charts, and the knots and wind speed, you can see them too clear between each other here.
Yeah, very, very nice. I like that.
In the rain today, I had to ask this one on one of the forums.
Mm.
It was hours to show. You can set with the variable of today's date, get the hours and minutes, and midnight's always at the left corner, and it will track across throughout the day.
That is
just today.
really cool. I think that Home Assistant's going to be doing a lot of work on the graphical user interface because I think they realized that they were far behind with that. And I don't know if you watch many of their online streams that they have, but yeah, there's a big focus on the whole interface.
Yeah, I'm usually one of those people that wait a week before I update.
Yeah, it's a lot safer.
Issues.
It's certainly a lot safer. I know I've certainly crashed a lot of things by doing the beta updates, but yeah, that's part of what I do. So
Yeah. And I'll
Oh.
briefly, I don't know how much time we want to go still.
yeah, let's do this, and then we might call it a day for today.
Unavailable right now, but that smart plug I showed.
Yeah.
That's the Alec one comes here with my scooter's charger. E-scooter thermal camera. I managed to get my hands, because I can get them cheaply, a thermal security camera.
Oh, which is a great idea because you hear of all these e-scooters catching on fire, right?
Yes. So if I open up a smart piece of SH1T, smart PSS, it's a bit clunky at times.
Yeah.
Sneak across down to here. That way I'm not showing off too many ones around the place. I'll show off just the thermal. So that's the example. We're looking at it, and I have the API document for this camera available. So I looked at it. How do you get the value for the temperature within these boxes?
Yeah.
So that returns back the minimum, average, and maximum values in those boxes.
Yeah.
And into here, I'm using Node Red to bring the values in.
Wow.
You can kind of see that's a little too much decimal point that goes through this camera.
Yeah.
So it's just a simple HTTP request to it. Every few seconds. I should try it again. There's a way you can do a heartbeat signal and subscribe to message like MQTT does.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to request, it just tells you as soon as it happens. I'll work out how to do that later on. For now, this works.
That is very cool, man. You've got some really smart stuff going there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty impressed, I must say.
Yes, that's that. I've removed half the cameras here just for this video, but there's an example of driveway.
Oh yeah.
So I'll give you a detection of those. The facial recognition comes from another way. Wi-Fi. I saw on one of your videos recently, or live streams, you bought a router that didn't work. The TP Link one.
Yes. So what has happened with my router? The story is that I was first of all using my ISP router, and what happened then was I exceeded the number of devices, which I think is 30 or something, and everything just stopped working after that. So I bought a router off Amazon, and when I got it into the country, it was really cheap. It was like $100 or something. And I thought, oh, well, let's try this out. Because funny enough, I phoned the ISP first to make sure that they could connect it. And then they were like, yeah, no problem. So I got it in, connected it up, didn't want to connect, phoned them. They fiddled around for an hour, couldn't get it working, then told me, no, it wasn't suitable. So eventually what I did was I just connected it up. I ran my ISP router as the effectively pulling in the information, and then I just used the Wi-Fi of the new one. And it actually worked really well. I ran for about 3 years. And then it started playing up a little bit recently. So I thought, oh, let me try the TP one. Quite expensive for what it is. I mean, $350 in New Zealand, which is pretty steep.
Wow,
and
okay.
yeah, I'm not overly impressed by it. I must admit, it's really, if anything, it's not as great as the other one was working. But anyway, I've kept it. So it's doing its job. But yeah, that cheap one from Amazon was actually a really good deal.
Okay.
It offered 200 device support. It had Wi-Fi 6. It had MDMA and all these fancy things. It was actually really good deal for $100.
Sounds quite something for an all-in-one router.
Yeah, and this was about 2 or 3 years ago I bought it. So it was a really good deal, I must say. But yeah, it just frustrated me having the two systems running together and everything. I thought I might as well just upgrade.
Yeah. I felt the same with an ISP router, and that's why I ended up getting my own router. And I actually put the Wi-Fi access points neither in the house and the cable through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is great because the ESP devices don't drop out on me.
Yeah, it's really good to go wired if you can, eh? I tell you.
I mean, even right now, texting my computer is too.
Yeah, I mean, this computer I've got running here in my studio, I've got it wired because just so much more secure, isn't it? It's not going to be ever going offline. It's just way, way better.
Yeah. And the other one I have to say for yourself plus viewers at home, if you're willing to set up static address mapping on your router or some way to get the unknown devices count.
Yes.
For me, I use the DHCP leases. That's an unknown device. And I had the case a few months ago where I was on holiday. Down the beautiful Stewart Islands at the time. They got a notification from Home Assistant saying an unknown device connected to my Wi-Fi.
Oh my goodness!
What's that? I looked back on it, and then the Wi-Fi logs. That was my friend walking past, and the phone connected to the guest network. When he walked past on the street.
Oh my goodness! There we go.
It's good to know these things in case you got someone that's unexpected or someone managed to get the password somehow.
Exactly. It's a really good. It's good to monitor, and I do like the having the remote access into the Wi-Fi, into the router, which I didn't have before. So
are you using a VPN on yours?
I don't have a VPN at the moment. No.
Okay. Yeah, I've I won't turn it on because I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I got a VPN connection I set up on my one for another remotely.
Yeah.
And then you can use a DDNS server to get the IP address, public IP address for your home router. That's my connection method. The same for the cameras.
Okay. At the moment, I'm just running with Nabocasa.
Yeah, I don't tend to like. I mean, Home Assistant Nabocasa, fine for that. The thing is, on my security cameras, it does have a cloud service.
Yeah.
But I prefer to completely block it off the internet, except for the time server.
Yeah.
And only access it when I'm connected to the VPN to it.
Yeah.
And the same way I treat Home Assistant in that regard.
Yeah. Very, very good idea.
Yeah. So I think that's all that I've really got for you. Is are we going for this for hours, or is there how many other things and life I can get you for Christmas lights and
awesome.
No.
Look, I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Mark, and we'll definitely catch up in person soon.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. But yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and yeah, look forward to chatting soon.
Yeah, we'll see you later on.